Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're very excited to have you on the book launch day for Disciplined Entrepreneurship Expanded and Updated and the new Startup Tactics book. Bill, good morning. I think we should kick this off with a couple quick introductions. You wanna go first?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Bill Olet. I'm the Ethernet Inventors Professor of the Practice at MIT, of Practice of Entrepreneurship. I'm a accidental academic. I'm an entrepreneur by design. I graduated with an engineering degree, and then I joined IBM for 11 years, and then I was started 3 different companies. First one not doing well, but incredibly educational, called Cambridge Decision Dynamics. Second one was called Sensible Technologies, which many of you probably have heard of, and the last one was called Visage, and they got increasingly more successful. And by the end, the wins outnumbered the losses by probably 5 to 2, and I made hundreds of millions of dollars for my shareholders, which made me very, very happy, and some shekels for myself too, which was nice. And then MIT asked me to come and teach entrepreneurship, and I realized that there wasn't a lot out there that was done really well. And ever since then, almost 17 years ago now, I've been teaching entrepreneurship and run the Martin Trust Center for MIT Entrepreneurship with Paul Cheek here on your screen. And we've been trying to raise the bar every day. See my shirt here? Raise the bar for entrepreneurship education, and making it a serious field of study that combines research and practice together to create an accessible body of knowledge for entrepreneurs that is evidence-based, proven that it works, and it's open sourced. It's not just us. Like, we're trying to, all the great thoughts in the world don't come from any one school. They don't come from any one zip code. And if we're going to have a serious body of a field of entrepreneurship, we have to kind of agree it's open sourced and get all kinds of people contributing to it. So that's who I am. I'm also a gold medal winner in the basketball, National Basketball Olympics here for senior players over 65.
And of course, that finds its way into your introduction, as always.
Oh, and the original author 10 years ago of this book, Disciplined Entrepreneurship, which I never in a million years thought was going to be as successful as it was. It's in like 27 different languages, and it's been used by millions of different people. It's sold 300,000 copies, and now, as of today is launched the new and improved, expanded Disciplined Entrepreneurship version that, as you can see, is dramatically bigger than this one. And it's got a whole bunch of, what the first one should have been, but it required 10 years of experimentation and knowledge and feedback from different people. That's what today's book is, and I'm extremely excited about that. And because not only does that provide a good base, but now we have Paul's book, which he's going to talk about, which creates this kind of first time where you have a full stack experience where you can have, theory, practice, and tactics, which is what entrepreneurs really need. So that's a long-winded introduction, and I'll turn it over to you now, Paul. Tell them who you are. Who is Paul Cheek?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. My name is Paul Cheek. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a software engineering background and bring that engineering mindset to the entrepreneurial process. I've started a number of companies over the years, looking at things like plastic pollution and staffing. And one of the things that I've found in bringing my experience as an entrepreneur into the classroom here at MIT is that we need to show people, entrepreneurs, not just what to do and why to do it, but how to do it. I'm the executive director of the Martin Trust Center for MIT Entrepreneurship and a senior lecturer here at MIT, where Bill and I co-teach a historic entrepreneurship course, New Enterprises. And through that process, what we've found is that entrepreneurs are able to build phenomenal strategies, business plans, but that what has been missing for so long from entrepreneurship education are these tactics that make up the full stack experience. And that's where my new book, Disciplined Entrepreneurship Startup Tactics, comes in. to help entrepreneurs learn the functional skills that they need to take a top tier business strategy and business plan and to put it out into the world to have an impact. What we focus on so specifically here at MIT and at the Trust Center. So this new book launches today along with the expanded and updated edition of Bill's book. And these are the books that we use based on the courses that we teach here at MIT that are now available open far and wide. Not just the books alone, but with educator materials to help other people teach this as well. For us and for the books that we're launching today, our goal, as Bill said, is to raise the bar, to provide a structured, systematic approach to the development of new business ventures. We're going to talk you through a little bit more about what's in the books. But Bill, I want to start maybe with your book, and then we can come back to mine. You just showed us the new expanded and updated version is significantly bigger than the original version from 10 years ago. There's a lot that's changed. Can you tell us a little bit about what's different between these two books?
Yeah, so let me just, I'm going to assume that people haven't read the first book necessarily. And the first book basically, talks about entrepreneurship is a craft that can be taught. And unpacking that, it's not an algorithm, it's not a science. Entrepreneurship is not art either. It's a craft. It's something like pottery that we can teach all of you, and you can get better at it. But you have to know the first principles. You kind of have to have the right mindset, and then we'll help you develop the skill set through those first principles, applying them in an apprenticeship type model. And then there's the way of operating. And so we systematically break this down into 24 steps to take you from your idea to a product, an innovation-driven product that's highly scalable in nature and is economically sustainable. That means it makes enough money to cover the cost and hopefully some extra there too. So that's the premise of it. At the time, it was built to be a reader for my class at MIT, and I never realized in a million years that it would be so popular that no one else would come up with something better. And it's now in 27 languages, and it has formed the foundation for what becomes the second version. There are these first principles, and we did not invent them here. Many of them are already out there, design thinking, how do you sell a product? What's the unit economics, cost of customer acquisition? What are the different types of motions you can go to market or channels you can go to market? How do you build things in an agile way? How do you build a scale? A lot of stuff was already out there. What we've done is bring it all together and put it in one book to give you the basic fundamentals. And that's what this is. What's different between the first book and the second book? I think, first of all, this was minimum viable product. As you see here, it's 300 pages, and there's a lot of room on each page. And it was important that it was rigorous, and it was evidence-based, and not just storytelling, and it was comprehensive, but also that it was accessible. And so you'll see from the get-go, we have these beautiful illustrations here made by Marius Arsace, who we're eternally grateful to for that. Not just us, but anyone who's read the book. In the new book, we take that and we expand on every single step in some rigor. My first rewrite of that book was 700 pages. And I said, that is not possible. We can't do that. So I narrowed it down and said, let's get it down to 300. I honestly couldn't get it down to 300 without simplifying some things that I was uncomfortable simplifying. So it's 400. But I would argue that still one shop to get the basics of entrepreneurship across the board. Think of the operating system. And once we had that, then the question was, well, what is in that? What's new in the book? Yes, there's refinement, but what else? Well, we took these two books. A very popular book that I put together after this first book was called Disciplined Entrepreneurship Workbook. And we took these two books and integrated them together into one book. So now you get templates, you get scripts, you get things to go forward. It was a first pass at tactics type stuff. It was a first step in that direction. So it's refinement of every step. It's taking those two books and putting it into one book in an integrated fashion. And then it's also kind of the new things we've learned over the past 10 years. You know, what about using AI? What about go to market? It used to be all about product market fit, but today product market fit is just that used to take up most of what we talked about. But product market fit today is just table stakes. You got to have that. Now there's a lot more discussion and experimentation and debate and planning about how do you go to market? How do you acquire those customers? And that's what's in this book. So it's refinement of every single step with all the knowledge we learned over the past 10 years. It's taking 2 books, putting them into one. And then thirdly, it's about what are the new things that have happened in the past 10 years that we can do that. And I should say also, knowing that your book was coming out to Tactics, I kind of like got to a point. I said, this is we're going to keep this book to 400 pages or less, and then we're going to pass it over here. And we kind of have an interface now to pass it over to Tactics, so that these 2 books together now you form an integrated pair. And that was the design considerations, the effort that was put in over the past 10 years to get to today's Disciplined Entrepreneurship expanded and updated version. You can see it right there. Paul, back to you.
Yeah, well, and it's amazing to think about all that's changed in 10 years and what's going to happen over the course of the next 10 years. Oh, I love that, Ben. Yes, it is. It's absolutely legendary, right? How do we get these first principles set up, but then how do we build on those? How do we take what we've developed through the 24 steps and push it out to the world? These are the questions that we started to get. And that's why we said that we need to build upon this, and we need to help to pull together the knowledge and the resources for entrepreneurs to actually build their businesses. The questions, Bill, that you know, I feel like we've gotten over the years in the class, and what I've gotten in one-on-one office hours, or when I advise a startup or advise a founder, are all around, all right, well, how do we go and how do we run that first marketing campaign? How do we get our first customers? This was a question that had come up in literally the last meeting we just got out of. How do we go and how do we do a little bit of product design? How do we go run user tests? How do we figure out what's working and what's not? And then from there, the questions are always around, how do we raise money and how do we build a team? How do we find those teammates? And so that's what comes together, building on the 24 steps into the 15 tactics in Startup Tactics. So within Startup Tactics, what you have are 15 tactics on the roadmap, also illustrated by Marius. And when we look at this, it walks through 4 stages, the 4 stages that we've looked at in detail. And Bill, this comes back to entrepreneurial math, right? We look at it, PEMDAS. There's an order of operations that entrepreneurs need to follow to get their business out in the world. And it starts with setting really strong foundations. We look, and you know, when I'm working with an entrepreneur and they're off doing something, I always wonder, why are they doing that? How does that contribute to their goals? So we look at goals first. Everybody thinks they're good at setting goals until the rubber meets the road, and we write them down and we look at them. We start there, setting really good goals, and then going into market testing. Market testing, we look at how do we run that first marketing campaign? How do we run that first sales experiment? How do we do the primary market research that we need to figure out what we should actually build? And I'm not talking about, oh, what is sales? It's how do we do sales at day 0? This market testing is designed to help us validate that people actually want what we think they do. From market testing, we should walk away with a line of customers waiting down the street to use the product that we haven't even built yet. From there, we go into product development. Once we have people ready to use our product, we say, let's do that product design. Let's run some user tests, and then let's go engineer this product. Again, not thinking about it within the context of a large organization necessarily, but how do we do this day 0? We're building from scratch. And when we have customers and when we have product, we then go into resource acquisition. Think things like setting up, incorporating. How do we incorporate? What are the considerations? How do we go and set up the financial model? How do we build our first financial model that we can defend? How do we build a pitch deck, not just of slides, but of a story that's going to convince people that we are on the path to success? And then where do we go from there? How do we actually fundraise? How do we run the fundraising process? And how do we go out and how do we actually hire people? These are the questions that we've gotten so much over the years. And one of the biggest things that was missing was this order of operations, right? This entrepreneurial math to know what to do and when to do it. And so that's what the Startup Tactics book tries to bring together into a really cohesive, curated package. Again, not that we've just invented, but that what we've seen from our own entrepreneurial journeys, what we've seen from founders we advise, from our students, from other entrepreneurs, and what's worked for them. But one of the things that I would really emphasize that this is not just about building a startup, right? It's disciplined entrepreneurship and startup tactics. They're designed to be used whether you're starting a company from the ground up or whether you're working within a large organization to be the most entrepreneurial product manager that Amazon has ever seen, for example. And so this is what we've packaged up together to best set entrepreneurs up for success when they have an idea, a technology, or a problem that they want to solve. They want to have an impact. How do they build a plan and a strategy to get there? How do they put it into practice? And how do they execute the tactics to make sure that that vision becomes a reality? And that's what we're so excited to share now with the world here today with the launch of these 2 new books. So Bill, with the release of the expanded and updated version of Disciplined Entrepreneurship, we got to take a little time and look back. What surprised you most about Disciplined Entrepreneurship over the years?
To be honest, that it applied so widely, and that's the first thing. It's like, I'm an IT person, B2B, and then all of a sudden I was like, wow, this really applies in a lot of different industries and across different cultures. Like, I'd never assumed that, we would just be able to go to India, Australia, China, Middle East and the like. But this goes to the point, like, there are first principles of entrepreneurship that are applicable. Yes, you have to customize them. No situation is the same. It will never be the same. That's the whole point of entrepreneurship. You're creating something that's never been done before. So it can't be an algorithm, but so many of these principles apply. Really kind of blew my mind. And the second thing is, it still blows my mind that nobody's done something that's a lot better. I don't think I'm exceptional. I think I'm just a hardworking entrepreneur. And why hasn't somebody else done something better? You always assume there's somebody out there who's going to do something better. And I was like, people always said, after I wrote the first one, I was like, well, can you update it? It's like, well, someone else is going to do something better. And unfortunately, or I guess, here we are 10 years later, and I don't see the field having moved forward as fast as I would have liked it to. So yeah, and I think that's what surprised me.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important. And one of the things that I'm excited about is that, doing something better. Hello, right here. No, it's an exciting time.
It's kind of frustrating, Paul, that we did it. Like, we're not trying. Everybody's like, you should make a business out of this. I don't want to make a business out of this. We're educators. We want to give it away. We're trying to change society. We're trying to bend the vector of progress of society. Where's my bend the vector? Here's my bend the vector new theme that we have. See, bend the vector of progress. Why aren't other people doing that? And it's a little frustrating in that, but hey, why not us? And I think we've gone forward and we've done it, and hopefully others will join in and push that vector up with us as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I'm really excited about is the fact that, we put this material out online for people to get, again, for free, open source. Let's get more people using this and sending feedback in. And we already have hundreds of schools that have downloaded the new materials to go and to teach this content. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds that have been teaching it over the course of the past 10 years. But with this new release, we have so many more adopting it. And that's super exciting because that's what we need. We need more entrepreneurs in this world. And I think, I do want to transition to some of the audience questions. I think that touches on one of the questions that we had come up in the chat. If you have questions, please throw them in there. Somebody says, are these books only for entrepreneurs, or can intrapreneurs find actionable insights from disciplined entrepreneurship? Yes, absolutely. We see people use this all the time in organizations to go and to build new ventures. When we think about how long an existing company is likely to survive, the way that changes when individuals within that organization can move the needle for the business at large. And disciplined entrepreneurship is used in so many large organizations for intrapreneurs. And that's one of the things. It's always interesting, Bill, for us to see how people take what they learn in a program or a course and then go apply it immediately afterwards within the program.
And
within their company.
We do that every day. Just to be clear.
Right here at MIT.
When we talk about it, we say, all right, that sounds like a good idea. Have you segmented the market? Do you know who our initial target customer is? Have we done primary market research when we launch a new course, when we launch a new program, when we have an event? We do all this stuff, and we are in a very large and often dysfunctional organization called MIT, and that is a problem on one hand. That creates a lot of inertia in the system. But on the other hand, when we get it right, it gives us a force multiplier effect to do things that we couldn't do on our own. So, yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention one thing, as you mentioned, in the new book, great new images, illustrations by the one and only Marius Ersace. And this is kind of, where's tactics fit in? It's what, will the dogs eat the dog food? But it's also beyond the 24 steps. And if you look closely at that, you'll see that little fella right there on your right is Paul Cheek. You see that?
You know, that's the hidden Easter egg that I left in the launch day exclusives on my LinkedIn post. We've got a bunch of launch day exclusives in there, and asking people if they could find the Easter egg within the book. That is me is one of them. So I kind of gave it away, but I'm glad people know that and they can find it now. It's super exciting to have that in there.
What do they win when they find the Easter egg?
Oh, what do they win? I don't know. They win an entrepreneurial path forward is what they win. All right, a question from Brent. This is a great question. So do you see the two books in a particular order or to be taught concurrently? Brent, I think this is a really good question because we're seeing so many different people around the world do this a little bit differently, running experiments to see what works and what doesn't. And one of the things that I would say is we've designed it to be, you learn the first principles in disciplined entrepreneurship, and then you apply them within Startup Tactics one and then the other. But one of the things that I've learned as we've started to teach courses that tackle both of these, and we've had a select few students who've taken both at the same time, is that they can be learned concurrently. Goals are going to be required as you go through the 24 steps. And so I think there's a lot of very interesting experiments being run right now around using both at the exact same time. And one of the other things that we're seeing is people are saying, can we go through the 24 steps really quickly, use tactics to go and put it out into the world and to test what works and what doesn't, to get those unique data points that suggest our hypotheses are correct or might not be. And then to go back to the 24 steps and to revise them again, really quickly. So we're seeing it done in a variety of different ways, and we'll see what floats to the top. We have a number of folks around the world who are going to be sharing with us their experience in doing them concurrently or otherwise, and we'll be sharing that online.
Brent, let me just comment on that as well. It's like the 24 steps is like something that I say is sequential, but not linear. And by that, I mean, you go through the 24 steps, but you're constantly iterating. You're going back to the persona and you're updating the persona. And then you get down to cost of, you're choosing your channels to get cost of customer acquisition. You realize, oh, we need to go back and update, our business model, how we extract rent, or maybe we should go to a subscription model and that will decrease it. So I think that, again, at a high level, it's kind of disciplined entrepreneurship gives you those lenses, and then tactics tells you how to drive down and take your plan from a plan to a business. But there's always iterating between these things. So even though it might seem sequential in nature, Paul's point, there's a lot of iterating, and these two things should not be just done. To me, these sit next to each other. While they're not one book, and that gives you a full stack of support, because you'll come up with theories, but then you have to try them out in tactics and then update them.
And one of the things I don't know how Marius actually stuck with this, but I said that the illustration for the tactics, it needed to be kind of 3D. It needed to be this roadmap. And one of the things you'll see is you kind of start down here with the foundations and you work your way to resource acquisition. But the the jungle floor, the dirt road, the brick road, and the highway in the distance, they all carry on forever. And I think that's really symbolic of how these tactics, you learn them once and you might learn them in order, but they have to continue on forever. And I think the same is true as you integrate the 24 steps in these tactics. You learn them and then they always continue. As I think about this, one of the things that I believe is coming, Bill, you talked a little bit about what have we seen over the course of the past 10 years in entrepreneurship? What have we seen? What have you learned? How has that been incorporated into the new version of disciplined entrepreneurship? I want to look to the future as well, right? Well, where are we going? Well, there are more entrepreneurs in the world as a percentage of the population today than there were 10 years ago when you wrote the first version. We're seeing more and more people become entrepreneurs. And you might think, well, oh, okay, well, there's going to be more people who are entrepreneurs, but I'm going to be the best entrepreneur. And I believe that there's going to be an increase in the baseline for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs everywhere. One of the things that we're seeing and that we're experimenting with here at MIT, Bill, as you highlighted, we are entrepreneurs in some regard, is with artificial intelligence and the role that plays in the advancement of the field of entrepreneurship. We are seeing a huge fundamental shift in the way that people are starting companies. And for new entrepreneurs, that's a wonderful thing. For repeat entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, I believe that every entrepreneur will start their new business differently than they started their last one. I know that's true for me. When we see what's possible with artificial intelligence and with our Orbit platform, Bill, the ability to go through the 24 steps, not in 3 months, but to be able to go through it in a day and get a really strong first draft. And even if that doesn't work, being able to go and revise and get a whole new first draft one day later, this is going to change the priorities for entrepreneurs everywhere. It's going to be a lot about doubling down on primary market research, getting to know their customers as well as they know some of their best friends. It's going to be about the leadership skills that they need, and it's going to be about the tactics and their ability to go put these things out into the world. And so, the fundamental understanding of those first principles, the application of the tactics, these are going to become even more important. And this is what we're seeing from the research and development here at the Trust Center with the Orbit AI platform. Taking this time-tested, proven, data-backed framework disciplined entrepreneurship and combining it with artificial intelligence, we're seeing people make incredible strides in the speed at which they're able to build businesses. That's one of the things that we're excited to share with folks who are joining us for the EDA program, Bill, that we're going to be running in first week of June. And so, when folks come in, it's not going to be, all right, let's spend all this time doing all this research. We're going to have people moving really, really quickly through the process. It's crazy. It's amazing seeing what people can do in a matter of minutes with the generative AI features.
I just want to expand. I just want to double down on that. I look at the quality of entrepreneurs today, and it is just going up. And I look at what I did, and I think, my God, I would be a dinosaur now compared to what the students do today, or what the entrepreneurs do today. And you see this, and it's just, if you're not continuing to get better at being an entrepreneur, you're not going to be competitive. It's kind of like basketball. You see some of these players in the old days, they were very, very good, but in today's, everybody's gotten so much better. You have to have gotten better. And it's the same thing with entrepreneurship. And as Bob Dylan said, he who is not being born is busy dying. You've got to stay up with what's going on. And that's why we've updated these books. And I think it's very important. I see a lot of you are entrepreneurship educators. I want to give a shout out to Chef Lala and Ben out there from Kentucky.
Oh,
let's get the questions in here. Let's see. Product could be a physical, digital. Product is a repeatable thing that you do as a company that creates value for your customers. It's not a bespoke solution. It might be consulting, but under that, there has to be a repeatable process. That's why we call it a product. It does not have to be a physical one, even a digital one. It could be data. It could be providing services, but it has to be repeatable. Let's see what other questions there are. The study. DE framework. ladies and gentlemen, we're here, and we can post up there the results. We just completed a 10-year study with Professor Daniela Ruiz-Massot, who is the head of entrepreneurship at the top university or a top university in Mexico called ITAM. And her study showed that using this methodology and what we teach at MIT, the Capstone program over a 10-year period, approximately 200, just a little under 200 participants, their skill sets dramatically increased. And measuring that is insufficient as is by the startups they did. Their startups are in business 5 years later at a rate of 69%. Those startups, the CEOs of those startups in 2022, 55% of them were female. So it's inclusive. What we're teaching is not, we don't produce a bunch of tech bros. And what we do is not dating apps or simple things. It's tough tech. It's things that really have an impact on the world. 89% of the companies that started are directly aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And oh, by the way, 63% of them have raised money, and they've raised $3 billion. Again, that doesn't capture all the impact, but that tells you in a very evidence-based way that what we're teaching actually works. And that's what we at MIT are like, does it work? We don't want to teach something that's not evidence-based. Does it work? Does it work? And this gave us great confidence that, yes, it is working. Are there areas for improvement as well? And then, oh, by the way, a study that was done by Catalyst in Northern Ireland showed that entrepreneurs in existing companies who implemented the DE methodology, that we're talking about here, they more than doubled their revenue within the next 12 months. The next 12 months, on average between 2 and 4x. I don't know if there are any other questions there, but Ben, what do you got for us? What's going on down there in Kentucky? Can you speak, Ben? You blocked him all out.
He can't speak, but I think we have to wrap here. Ben, send us the update. Folks who are watching, send us questions you have. Share the feedback with us on the book. What worked? What didn't? We'd love to hear it. We'd love to see you in person here in Cambridge at MIT. So with that, the future is bright for entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs, we've got more tools, more resources, and we're going to continue to raise the bar. With that, we will say goodbye. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Raise the bar, raise your